Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just stayed in the water? Not for a few minutes or even a few hours, but for days, weeks, even months on end. Imagine surrendering yourself to the gentle embrace of water, letting it cradle you day after day, not for a swim, but for 6 entire months. Picture your world reduced to the blue silence beneath the surface, your body suspended in a state between floating and falling, time marked only by the shifting light above. It sounds like a science fiction plot, but the reality is a fascinating journey into human biology's ability to adapt. Scientists have long studied what happens to the body in extreme environments, and water immersion is one of the closest analogs we have to the weightlessness of space. Your body, designed for life on solid ground, would begin a slow transformation. The familiar rules of gravity would no longer apply, and every cell would start to sense the difference. The constant pressure of the water and lack of gravity would conspire to turn you into something almost aquatic. Your muscles would relax, your bones would feel lighter, and your entire posture would shift. The first sensation would be liberation, a feeling of near-perfect weightlessness. It's a freedom that's both exhilarating and a little disorienting, as if you've left your old self behind. Every movement would feel effortless, your joints suddenly free from supporting your own mass. You'd glide with a grace that's impossible on land, discovering new ways to move. This initial grace is deceptive. It signals the start of a slow decay within your musculoskeletal system. Without the daily challenge of gravity, your muscles and bones would quietly begin to weaken. Your body would question the need for strong bones and muscles in an environment where they're redundant. Over time, your skeleton would lose density and your muscles would shrink, adapting to this new, easier way of existing. Getting around would mean gliding, not walking. You'd learn to push off surfaces, using the water's resistance to steer and propel yourself. The simple act of standing would become a distant memory. Your legs, once so vital, would become almost vestigial in this new world. Your internal systems would start recalibrating to this new, pressure-filled, gravity-light existence. Even your heart and lungs would adjust, learning to work with less effort as your body floats. The novelty would be captivating, but it's just the prelude to a demanding biological overhaul. The longer you remain, the more profound the changes become, both inside and out. You'd need to anchor yourself for stability, and your brain's sense of balance would be thrown into confusion. Even your inner ear, which helps you stay upright, would struggle to adapt. This is the true beginning. Not just a change of scenery, but a change of self. Immersed in water, you'd embark on a journey that challenges every part of your being, revealing just how adaptable and fragile the human body can be. The human body is ruthlessly pragmatic, always adapting to its environment in ways that maximize efficiency, even if that means sacrificing strength and resilience when they're no longer needed. If you don't use it, you lose it. This principle is especially true for our muscles and bones, which are constantly being remodeled based on the demands we place on them. In the buoyant underwater world, your muscles would be the first to atrophy. Without the need to fight gravity, your body quickly decides that maintaining bulky, energy-hungry muscles is a waste. Without gravity, your powerful leg and back muscles would waste away, and you'd notice a significant loss of strength within weeks. Even simple movements would become challenging as your body adapts to a new normal. This process, called disuse atrophy, is why astronauts exercise for hours in space. Specialized equipment mimics gravity's resistance, but it's a constant battle to maintain muscle mass. Bone density would also decline as bones lose the stimulus they need to stay strong. Without impact and weight-bearing activities, your bones would shed minerals, becoming brittle. The risk of fractures increases dramatically, even from minor bumps. After 6 months, your skeleton would be significantly weaker, like that of a much older person. The changes are profound and can take years to fully recover from, if at all. Muscle loss would lower your metabolism, requiring fewer calories and shifting your body composition. You'd burn less energy at rest, making it easier to gain fat and harder to rebuild lost muscle. You'd lose functional tissue, muscle and bone, rather than fat. The body prioritizes survival, not athleticism. The cardiovascular system would adapt too, responding to the lack of gravitational stress. Your heart, no longer fighting gravity, would shrink in size and strength. Over time, it becomes less efficient at pumping blood against gravity's pull. Blood volume would decrease, and your body would become dangerously deconditioned for life on land. Returning to Earth could mean dizziness, fainting, or even collapse. Every system would remodel itself for floating, not for the stress of gravity. Your body would be optimized for a world without weight. The changes would be silent, invisible, and difficult to reverse. You might not notice them until you try to stand, walk, or lift something heavy again. You'd be left with a body built for water, not for land, a living reminder of how profoundly gravity shapes who we are. The most obvious change would be to your skin. Our skin is our first line of defense, a living shield that protects us from the outside world. But what happens when that world is nothing but water, every hour of every day? We've all seen pruny fingers after a bath, but 6 months underwater would bring much more dramatic changes. The familiar wrinkling is just the beginning, a warning sign of what's to come. The constant moisture would lead to chronic maceration, soft waterlogged skin vulnerable to infection. Over time, your skin would lose its resilience, becoming fragile and easily damaged. The natural barrier of oils and healthy bacteria would be washed away, leaving you exposed. Without these defenses, your skin would struggle to keep out harmful microbes and irritants. Tiny cuts could become serious infections, and your skin would likely become pale, swollen, and rash-prone. Even the smallest scrape could turn into a dangerous wound as healing slows and bacteria thrive. To survive, your skin might try to adapt by producing more oil or thickening in places, but these changes would be limited. The body's natural attempts to protect itself would be overwhelmed by the relentless wetness. More likely, you'd be in a constant struggle against skin breakdown. Painful sores and peeling would become a daily reality, making even simple movements uncomfortable. Specialized barrier creams and meticulous skincare would be essential. Without them, the risk of chronic wounds and infections would skyrocket, requiring constant vigilance. The sensory experience of your skin would change too. The constant pressure of water would dull your sense of touch. Textures and temperatures would blur together, replaced by a single unending sensation. The subtle sensations of air, fabric, or sunlight would become forgotten. You'd lose the everyday pleasures of a breeze on your skin or the warmth of sunlight. Your world would be defined by the monotonous sensation of water, a kind of sensory deprivation. The endless embrace of water would become your new normal, erasing the variety of touch you once knew. This could contribute to a feeling of disconnection from the normal world. The isolation wouldn't just be physical, it would be deeply psychological, as your skin loses its connection to the environment. Your skin would become both a vulnerability and a source of monotony, a constant reminder of how much you've lost and how much you've had to adapt just to survive. The biggest challenge underwater is breathing. Humans need air, not water, so you'd rely completely on technology for every breath. Scuba tanks wouldn't cut it. You'd need a constant, reliable air supply, piped from the surface or generated on site. The system would have to scrub out carbon dioxide and carefully control the air mixture. At depth, normal air can be dangerous. Nitrogen narcosis is a real risk, so you'd likely breathe a special gas mix. The air would be dry and sterile, leading to respiratory irritation over time. You'd be acutely aware of your dependence on the machinery. Any failure would be life-threatening. Breathing would be easy, requiring less effort, which could weaken your respiratory muscles. You'd be living in a world where every breath is outsourced to a machine. The psychological weight of this dependence would be immense. Your lungs and body would adapt to this artificial environment, but at a cost. The act of breathing would become a constant reminder of your vulnerability. Eating underwater is a logistical and physiological challenge. Food would be astronaut-style, nutrient-dense pastes, dehydrated bricks, or vacuum-sealed pouches. The pleasure of eating would be replaced by a functional, monotonous process. You'd need a diet rich in calcium, vitamin D, and protein to fight bone and muscle loss. Reduced metabolism would mean fewer calories, and every meal would be a precise prescription. The sterile air would dull your sense of smell and taste, making food bland and unappealing. Eating would become a chore, not a pleasure, and appetite could suffer. The high-pressure environment could also affect digestion, causing discomfort. You'd eat for survival, not enjoyment, a daily reminder of your body's rebellion. The physical changes are dramatic, but the mental ones might be even more profound. Prolonged isolation in a small habitat would shrink your world to a few rooms. The lack of social interaction would create a deep sense of loneliness. Without natural day-night cues, your body clock would be thrown off, leading to sleep disturbances. Poor sleep would worsen every other psychological stressor. You'd miss the grounding experiences of life on land, sunlight, nature, human touch. Coping would require strict routines and mental discipline. The psychological challenge would be a marathon, demanding constant effort to maintain purpose and sanity. In sensory monotony and isolation, the brain creates its own stimulation. Hallucinations and perceptual distortions become real risks. You might see shapes or hear sounds that aren't there, your brain filling in the blanks. This is the third man factor, the mind inventing company or meaning in ambiguous noise. Cognitive functions would suffer, memory, concentration, and problem-solving would decline. Mental fog could lead to detachment from reality, making the world outside feel dreamlike. This coping mechanism blunts anxiety, but can also cause dangerous complacency. Keeping your mind sharp would require constant effort and engagement. The line between reality and imagination would blur in the deep. Living underwater would change your perception of the world. Sound would become your primary sense, traveling farther and clearer than on land. The visual world would be limited, colors fade, everything turns blue-green, and visibility is poor. You'd learn to appreciate subtle shifts, light changes, passing fish, drifting marine snow. Aquatic life would become your daily companions, providing a connection to the natural world. This connection could help combat loneliness and isolation. Over time, your brain would adapt, developing new spatial awareness and perception. The alien environment would become familiar, even comfortable. You'd see the world through the eyes of an aquatic creature. It's a profound transformation of consciousness. After 6 months underwater, returning to land would be brutal. Gravity would feel crushing, and standing would be nearly impossible. Atrophied muscles and brittle bones would make you as helpless as a newborn. Sensory overload, bright light, loud sounds, new smells would overwhelm you. Your sense of balance would be lost, causing vertigo and nausea. Recovery would take months or years of therapy to rebuild muscle, bone, and balance. The psychological readjustment would be just as tough. Crowds, choices, and social complexity would feel alien. You'd carry the memory of the deep within your body and mind. The physical cost would be steep, and the mental journey profound. You'd return changed, marked forever by your time beneath the waves.